Hello, everyone. My name is Slava Kravchuk. I'm a vice chair of the Magenta Association, and I'm really excited to welcome you to the fourth edition of MA Connect. Just like last year, we will be opening the event with the Magenta Association Town Hall. Today's Town Hall will be split into two sessions. We'll start now with the overview of this event and the Magenta Association, as well as our accomplishments over the past half a year. And the second session will be at the end of the event, and you definitely don't want to miss it. We'll be announcing the winner of the first ever direct elections to the MA board. That's something I'm sure many of you were looking forward to, and we will also have a Q&A session with the board, so make sure to have your questions ready. I first want to begin by giving a quick overview of who the Magenta Association is, since we have some new folks joining us today. The Magenta Association was created as a nonprofit organization, and our mission is to advance and empower the global Magenta community. The MA is here to connect and represent all segments of our community, and we go across different company types and job roles to make sure we have a solid representation. We want to make sure that community voices are heard, no matter where they come from. As a result, our members are present in pretty much every part of the world, and we aim to further diversify our membership base. As much as we want to do everything at once, to achieve results as an association, we need to make sure that we channel our efforts into select specific areas. We announced the 4 pillars of the Magenta Association at the last MA Connect in October, and these pillars, they overview the vision and focus points of the organization. We have been actively working on advancing all of those items. Open collaboration, content source, and open source are all underway and progressing each day. We also plan to begin work on the developer education and training pillar the second half of this year. So you should see more work being done there soon. And of course, we need help with all of those pillars because majority of the efforts and initiatives are driven by our committees, which are purely volunteer-based. So we depend on your help and support to make our vision come true. So please go to the MA website today, check out the list of committees we have in the About Us section, and consider signing up for the committees you're interested in to serve on. I want to share with you some of our accomplishments over the last 8 months and to see where we have been focused behind the scenes and help you see the progress we are making. You'll also get a sneak peek at what is coming next for the members of the Magenta Association. So paid membership is on, as you all know probably. Through the hard work of the Magenta membership committee, we were able to propose a phase 1 solution for paid membership using Patreon as a platform to get this up and running as soon as possible before the board election began. Launching this paid membership provided us an opportunity to gain more committed voters who are invested in the future of the Magenta Association. It also provides additional revenue stream for the association to help us advance our mission, provide more value to members, and be more independent. We are also now in the midst of board elections, where we will elect 3 new board members to the board. The first part of the elections, where 1 new board member is elected via direct vote, is actually already finished. And at the second part of the town hall today, before the event closes, you will hear who is the new board member joining us. 2 more board members will be elected via the slate process this summer, and this will allow a greater engagement and a deeper reach with more people involved to move things forward faster. At the end of last year, we have launched an exclusive Magenta Association podcast, which is called Proceed to Checkout. It is now available on pretty much every streaming platform, so if you haven't already, please go and subscribe. We also started a new open source task force last year, which meets regularly, and it aims to build out the business plan for Magenta open source. We also continue to host Meet Magenta events, both virtually and in person. This year, in-person events open up, and we're really excited about that. We also put effort into improving our communication and to build transparency to our membership and community. So we heard you, and we started to publish more behind-the-scenes articles through our Commerce Call blog. And also our committee members write articles there. And we have now our Momentum newsletter, which is a roundup of all work being done by the MA team. We continue to focus on membership growth and engagement through all the channels we have. We try to use help of Adobe in that. We use our social channels and we do membership campaigns. So now we brought in over 300 paid members since April. And lastly, we continue to put another excellent MA Connect events. So with these events, we have over 500 attendees here today, and I'm looking forward to great content. So let's dive a little bit deeper into details. For those of you who are not current members with the Magento Association or Patreon members, joining is easy. So I encourage you to do that today. You can start with joining us on Patreon as a paid member, and we work to make this program really accessible to everyone because the membership tier starts from just $1. And in addition to that, we have another 6 tiers to choose from. We wanted to make the paid membership really accessible to all with that $1 tier, and that worked out really well. We have now over 340 patrons up to date. Currently, about 80% of the patrons, they support us at the $1 level. But if you can afford it, I encourage you switching your contribution to a higher tier, or if you're not a member yet, signing up at the higher tier from the start. By signing up, you are helping the MA to advance its mission and support the community's growth. So perhaps let's help us double that number and start today from signing up on Patreon if you haven't already. I want to recognize some of our patrons who support MA at one of the top 3 tiers. There are more patrons who choose to not be publicly recognized. This is the first time we publicly recognize our patrons, actually, and we are really grateful for their support. We appreciate everyone who supports Magento Association, and you're always welcome to spread the news and get your colleagues and friends signed up. For those of you who haven't listened to it yet, make sure to check out the Magento Association exclusive podcast, which is called Proceed to Checkout. As I mentioned, it's now available on your podcast streaming service, whichever service that you use. And we have completed season 1 now and working on season 2 as we speak. That's great content. Since last fall, the Magento Association Open Source Task Force has met regularly with Adobe to develop and evaluate strategies and to build a business plan around sustainability of Magento open source. This is the topic that we care deeply about, as Magento open source is a core part, if not the core part, of our community. Later today, we have a panel discussion with some of the members of this task force and other community members, where you will learn more of what has been discussed and what the different points of view are. We want to thank and recognize all of the members who are putting their time into this task force, and you see them on the screen. With the pandemic, many of our beloved Meet Magento events last year had to be either canceled or switched to virtual event mode. This year, we are happy to see them return to hybrid or in-person events. We had Meet Magento events in 3 continents already, and there are more coming this year. Meet Magento UK is happening just in 2 weeks, and this is going to be an in-person event. So we are really looking forward to that. And you can find other events coming with the dates on our events calendar on MA website. At this point, we want to thank all our Meet Magento event organizers for giving our community those homes around the globe. They provide the meeting places that we have dearly missed during the last 2 years. We have a lot in the works for the next 6 months. We'll be working on building out the educational pillar from the 4 pillars, which will provide additional educational value for our members. We all know that there is huge shortage of Magento developers out there, and we are looking forward to improve the situation with this educational initiatives of our association. We also have more educational webinars in the works, so please keep a look out for those. The membership committee will be working on recommending the new member benefits to launch later this year to have more value in our membership program. We want to include more defined paid membership model with different benefits and to make sure that the tiers are enticing for you to stay as a paid member on. The Magento Open Source Task Force will be furthering their business plan and recommendation to keep open source thriving and well. Actually, we are going to have a panel on open source also today, later in the day, so I encourage you joining and hearing the latest updates there. We're also evaluating options for an in-person event later this year or maybe early next year to get the community together in person again under the MA roof. And we'll be launching season 2 of the podcast. Also, we will have, as I said, new board members joining us, and tune in at 2 p.m. Central Time today, where we will announce the winner of the direct election, our first elected new board member. I'm sure everybody is excited about that. So I'd like to introduce now Sonia Franz from our board to give you an overview of this MA Connect event and hear more about the event itself.
Thank you, Slava. It's a pleasure to be here. And just let me get everything started here properly. So there we go. All right, people. Well, nice to finally be here. I'm now moving into the event overview, but just before we're doing that, I just wanted to share a few words on, well, the organization of MA Connect. So this is definitely not something that I could put on my own, not at all. It's a team effort, and together with our Magento Association team and the members of our MA Connect task force, we have put this together. They have invested a lot of their time to create this event for you, and I hope to all invite you to give a round of virtual applause for these fantastic human beings. Marsha, Vijay, and Marta, thank you for your work that made this event possible. I know this has been especially hard circumstances with all going on in the world, and I really appreciate what you have accomplished here for us. And it's not just the event leadership here, the organizing team at the task force. It's also lots and lots of other people who volunteer their time. So next to the task force, we have, for example, here are speakers, the speaker selection committee, and our session moderators. So you may remember our call for content for this event, and when that was closed, the speaker selection committee gets to work. They pick the most fitting topics for this event, and we all hope that you enjoy the selection that we have put together here. And during the day, then you'll see the moderators making sure that our speakers are all set for the presentation, and they will also be the ones to pick up questions from the audience. And we all thank you for contributing to this event, either behind the scenes or really on stage here today in the sessions. Yeah, talking about sessions, well, we have the speakers. Without these fantastic people, MA Connect would lose its core, really. Let's say it like that. They are the ones who share their knowledge with us today, and with that, moving us as a community forward. And we thank them all for the time they invest into their presentations and for being here today and presenting, taking the virtual stage. I know that can be a daunting experience, but they have the moderators on their side, and I hope that you as an audience will give them, just the right cues on what you want to hear about more, send in their questions, so they realize that it's not just the void that they're talking to, but our community that's listening. And we don't just have sessions, but as Slava has already mentioned, there is also a panel on Magento open source. So we have invited you all to attend this panel later on. If you may remember, at the last MA Connect in October, we had a similar panel, which finally also brought Adobe's perspective to the table of the ongoing discussions around Magento open source. And today, a number of our panelists, here today, have been active in the Magento Association's Magento open source task force. That's quite the tongue twister to say it a couple of times. And they've also been active in the MageOS or group and in our community just in general. And today we are eager to hear from them what's happened in the Magento open source community since October and where are the emerging paths we see leading us as a community. and our ecosystem. So I think we're all very excited to see that later on and to also get involved in the discussion and send in their questions as well. Now, I would like you all to also send a bit of thank you to our sponsors. Our title sponsor, PayPal, for them, it's by no means their first MA Connect that they support and sponsor, but they have supported us for several MA Connect editions already, and I want to thank them for this continuous support of our community. Our platinum sponsors today, WebScale and Cloudways, are always ready to step up and support us as well. Make sure to check out their booth and their session here today. And by sponsoring MA Connect, they are supporting our global Magento community to come together at this free event and making this possible. So that's really cool of them, I think. And also we want to recognize Molly and Adobe here for their year-round efforts and support of the Magento Association. Again, thank you all to PayPal, WebScale, Cloudways, and Molly and Adobe. And with that, I want to, point out our social pages because we have them, quite a lot of them. Have you ever only learned about an event taking place at the time because of a post on social media? Because I certainly have. And that's why we want to encourage you all to post about this event on social media today. If you use the hashtag MAConnect, then you'll make it easier for us to find your posts and to share them with our network as well. And of course, you're also invited and follow these accounts as they are a great way to just stay on top of what's happening at the Magento Association. Okay, today we have a couple of highlights. First of all, maybe a word about the structure of this event. So as we pointed out, we have a panel coming up, but through most of the day, you get to choose between 3 sessions that are running in parallel. The sessions appear in Hopin, so our platform here, 5 minutes before the official start. And that's when you can join the session and get ready with your popcorn and your coffee right before the speaker starts the session. And during each session, you'll see the Q&A tab on the right side of your screen if you're on desktop. And that's where you can submit your questions to the speaker. Also, there's a chat. I see that many of you have already found it and used it. That's great. And that's where you can engage with your fellow audience members, the speakers and moderators. And please use the chat for anything that's not a question to the speaker and the Q&A for the questions, because that way your questions don't get buried under chat messages. Really good. Also, please remember, this is a community, but also a business event. So please act like the kind human being that you are, and respect the work of others. And our platform, Hopin, here also allows you to network virtually if you like. So if you head to the People's tab, I think it's called, on the left-hand side of your screen on desktop, then there you see the way to network. It's a way to have kind of like one-on-one talks, 3 minutes video talks, and just to get to know another human being here and to connect with them. And if you prefer catching up in groups, then we have the social gathering or the real after-show party at the end of the day or somewhere in the night, depending on where you are around the globe. And we all hope to see you all there to hang out together after the official part of the event. Okay, a couple of highlights here as well. Coming up right after me here on stage is the keynote with Eric Irway and Nicole Collison that I'm sure you don't want to miss to hear more from Adobe directly. We have our committee updates around the mid of the event, where different members from our community who are active in the committees share what they've been working on and what they want to work on next and how you can get involved. We have the panel coming up later in the day, and there is the merchant chat happening with Andrew Figgins. So if you've registered here as a merchant, then you are able to join that session, kind of like a roundtable for merchants to just have a heart-to-heart conversation. And also we have one special session here that I want to highlight by Anna Plachkova from Ukraine. Because today the war in Ukraine has been going on for 104 days. And as you may know, the Magento community is rooted in Ukraine, really. And during these 104 days, the Ukrainian people and companies have demonstrated to the world what it means to fight for something you love and that you can't live without. And they teach us a valuable lesson of what it means to be resilient. And I'm very, very grateful that today Anna Plachkova is here to talk about how Ukrainian companies operate amid the war and building strength from their preparedness and also flexibility. But Ukrainians are not alone in this fight. Extraordinary individuals from our community also have recognized their needs and stepped up to provide whatever is necessary. And while doing that, some of them really have gone the extra mile and also organized an event here, like Marta. And even if they haven't, they all deserve and have our profound respect and appreciation. Yeah, you'll find more about what they've been working on in our blog, as we've shared some of their stories there. And dear audience, if you have any personal contacts in Ukraine, please reach out to them, check in with them. With the war continuing for so long, not forgetting about their struggles is the very least that we can do, and just make sure that what they're going through is still relevant for all of us, and make sure that this the war ends and that Ukraine is free again. Because our Magento community is more than just a business network. It's individuals and it's companies, and they're working together, looking out for one another. And well, Ukraine and its companies also need us to provide them with business opportunities. And that's why we also have these events, to make sure that there's the connections and that our Magento ecosystem is still thriving and has a place for them to come back to. And that is, well, probably the best transition that we can get here. I know that we also have Adobe's support in this, in making sure that Ukraine gets out of this soon in the best shape as possible and can return to their, well, their strength here in the ecosystem as well. So let's please welcome here today Nicole Cornerson and Eric Irway. Eric, as a Adobe liaison, is a regular at MA Connect and plenty of other activities here at the Magento Association, like the Magento Open Source Task Force. And we are excited to also have Nicole here, as we're always eager to build more connections in the Magento community and with people working at Adobe who are involved in Adobe Commerce and Magento Open Source. Okay, I see you're already ready here. I know this was a bit of a roller coaster ride, and I hope that you can take it from here and tell us what we should know about and what's happening at Adobe that we will need to keep in mind here. All right, stop my screen sharing. Just one more word for the audience. I know we're currently on stage, but the Q&A with Eric and Nicole will happen in a session. So please keep all your questions in your mind and bring them to the session's Q&A afterwards. That's all. And we'll probably help you also if you leave some of the questions here on stage. All right, Nicole, Eric, stage is yours.
Hi, welcome everybody. Good to be here. I think Eric might need to be reconnecting here for a second. He's actually going to be presenting, so we'll give him just a second to come back on. But I'm very excited to be here and talk to you all about updates from Adobe, what's going on, and share with you kind of the latest. Very excited about that.
Nicole, this event wouldn't be the same without a bit of technical issues. And
Yeah.
Speaking from the last event, I think it was always when it was time to hand over to the keynote. So this is just like tradition, I think, from now on.
Yeah. It'll be nice when we're all back together in person. I am very much looking forward to that for these reasons and others. Just to be
Absolutely.
able to see people. It's good. Well, I'll have to do a few changes if I need to present. So
I think he's here now. There he is.
So sorry about that. I can now share my screen, so apologies for that.
Okay, Eric, we're just waiting for you to, or just leave you a couple of seconds or minutes, whatever you need to have it all set up.
Of course, give me just a second. And by the way, beautiful intro, Sonia. Thank you so much to you, to Slava, to the association, our sponsors, everybody for putting this together. So give me just a second here.
There's already some people offering to help with your HDMI connector, if that's
oh, good. Oh, good. And in the old days, we would be brought in on zip lines onto the stage, and then we'd just hook in and go, right? And so it's a little bit different. So we're managing through change.
Yeah. Where's the fire coming up whenever you need it in your?
For sure. We'll do that next time. So, all right. I'm assuming everybody can see my screen now. Is that true?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. All right, perfect. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Sorry for the AV issues. New laptop, new permissions, and so good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. I hope everybody is doing excellent. I was really inspired with what Sonia and Slava had said. You're going to see a lot of crossover in some of the content here, but we are really pleased and really honored to be the keynote speakers here at MA Connect Spring, and I think you'll start to see a really consistent story between Adobe, the community. And even Magento open source, which is really just a small part of what we're doing. And so in terms of introductions, I think Sonia did a great job, but let's maybe expand a little bit ourselves. For those who don't know me, my name is Eric Irway. I'm the group product manager here at Adobe for Adobe Commerce. My team is primarily focused on the experiences, so the storefront, so the front end, the APIs themselves, and the business user experience. And so I've been with Adobe and originally with Magento for over 7 years, and I'm extremely pleased to bring here Nicole, who's been a fantastic champion and a great ally along the way, and has been here for quite some time. And so I'm glad she's here joining us in her role from engineering. So Nicole, did you want to? Yeah,
absolutely. Thank you so much, Eric. Appreciate the intro there. It's really good to be here, as I mentioned while we were waiting for Eric, and I do appreciate greatly the opportunity to share with the community what we've been working on and some pretty key updates. I have actually been in the engineering organization for Magento for the last 4 years. In fact, I'm about ready to have my 4-year anniversary. And I'm very excited to now be able to talk to you all as the leader of the engineering organization. It's a very important role that I take very seriously. We have a lot of opportunity to connect here today, and I look forward to sharing with you all what's been going on. Thanks, Eric.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Nicole. And then for those who've been involved in the open source task force and some of our hangouts and meetings, Nicole has been there, and even within her role, has been a very active participant and really helping us, really shape not only what this looks like, but how it works together. So let's go ahead and get started here. So again, I think building off of, and quite honestly, I can't do it justice with what Sonia had shared earlier, but just want to share that Adobe also stands with the community in Ukraine. We fully realize there's a lot going on in the world right now, well beyond any platform, well beyond any piece of software, really anything. And we're cognizant of that. And for those who don't know, Adobe as a whole has done a tremendous amount of things for the war in Ukraine, namely with employment. So we do have a fairly sizable office in Romania that we work with regularly, and they're hiring. They're looking at contracts, relocation assistance, health and well-being benefits. And this was all announced back in April, but you may not have seen it. And so we're looking at this as an opportunity, again, not unique even just to Magento, but Adobe as a whole, where they're bringing in kind of the full breadth of the company and, helping those who need it the most. In addition to that, I think one of the more inspiring stories internally that probably doesn't get told enough is also that of the Adobe Foundation. Again, with what's happening in Ukraine, and for those who've been here a long time, our DNA, our roots are very much in the Ukraine, and we know that. And as part of that, though, we've done through the Adobe Foundation really a series of grants, and totaling over $1 million. But what's even more impressive is what you don't see here, is that in addition to that 1 million, the internals have the Adobe employees have contributed another $1.5 million. So a total of $2.5 million has been gathered, has been really put together in support of the humanitarian efforts. And so Red Cross and a few other organizations. And it's, as an employee of Adobe, I couldn't be more inspired, but really more pleased on what they're doing as part of this, both in terms of the work, but also the contribution in doing so. So again, I think Sonia did it best, I think, in the beginning here. So I don't want to overstep this, but we recognize there's a lot of things going on in the world right now. I personally have been really inspired, and look forward to Anna's talk here shortly on the things that this community has been doing. Those are the things that get me up in the morning, and really couldn't be prouder of really what we're doing in that area in a very, very difficult time in the world, for sure. So if we were here in person, if Nicole and I came in on Zipwires, if we all had the Las Vegas stage, we would look around the room, and one of the questions we'd like to ask is, so why are we here? And it sounds like a very simple question. And it's something in putting this together, I really wanted to think about. Again, virtual probably is not as effective as in person. We'd have this pause and really think about what this means to us, but it's a really important question because it matters whether you're a developer, a partner, a merchant who might be smaller, a merchant might be larger, an Adobe employee. Somebody's not familiar to any of this. Somebody who is on the other side of the world struggling with something that has nothing to do with commerce. And for me, it really boils down to the community. The product is great. We've got a small but mighty team, and that's been doing some great things. There's a lot that's happened that I'm really proud of in terms of the adoption, where we're going. It's an exciting time to be part of this community. But these stories in the community and the people are a big part of this, which sounds trivial, but when you think about the spirit of MA Connect, it's about connections, which quite honestly have been a little bit harder over the past couple of years, and they're not. So I'm really encouraged to see things like the Meet Magento series picking back up. There'll be a series, and there have been a series of Adobe events in support of this community that will be picking back up. And couldn't be more encouraged by this, because I think when we connect, we get to the part of what we do here that we love so much, which is that of the community. And so that's, again, just really thinking about this with a lot of depth. Again, in person, we would go around the room and talk about this. And that's something we need to center ourselves on. But that's what gets me going. That's why I'm here. And I'd like to actually, Nicole, from your perspective, how would you describe that? Why would you say you're here?
Yeah, that's a really good question and a great way to frame what we're trying to accomplish here today. And in my mind, agree, like we are all part of the community, and it means different things to different people. I find myself fairly new to the organization in the sense of the broader community and understanding, mostly because there was just such great foundation laid prior to my involvement. And I feel like it's deep and it's strong, and it's very clear that we have high interest and value and understanding and updating and sharing with the community. And to that end, I think, we are here to share the latest updates for our common platform and community. And I think it is important for us to have that heartbeat of communication, that regular understanding of kind of what we are doing and what's going on. We have touched on this many times in the open source task force, which has been going on now for at least 6 months. So we definitely have a forum there, but this gives us an opportunity to just be more broad, take some questions, and really, really share with the audience today.
Great. Thank you, Nicole. And I feel very much the same thing. And I think the way to look at it is, how do we connect? In some cases, how do we reconnect? And some, that continues to change, right? And that's a good thing in terms of how we expand. So let's go through and really start to think about what this means. And so I know you've heard from others in the past, whether it's Magento Association Connect talks or even Adobe Developers Live. But ultimately, there's a lot of information. There's I think a lot of questions around Magento open source and a lot of questions around Adobe Commerce. How are they different? How are they similar? And we wanted to spend some time really talking through this, because I think there's often some I would say there's misinformation, but really misunderstanding of what this is. And ultimately, as we look at our multi-year journey here through Adobe, we've got a very bright future. We continue to see and hear Adobe's commitment to Magento open source as a code base. It's really focused on security. It's really focused on, in many ways, the community that traditionally has been smaller businesses and developers. We know this, we feel this, we see this in each and every releases. And that's, regardless of a PR that might be submitted, it may be a developer who may be using Magento open source for the very first time, or a business that is considering growing with Magento open source into something like Adobe Commerce or others. And we continue to introduce new capabilities within the core platform itself, net new capabilities like product recommendations, live search, et cetera, and our headless capabilities by way of the GraphQL APIs that really power the possible. But ultimately there are differences. Magento open source itself really is just a code base. Yes, there's a community. Yes, there's a history, et cetera. But once you start to see the lines there, Adobe Commerce itself, if you've paid attention to the last couple releases, is enterprise grade. It's agile. It supports incredibly complex cases. Most recently, if you look at what we introduced with 2.4.4, Andre and the performance team have really sped up some of the work around the upgrade of PHP 8.1 that helps support this and starts to hit the areas around performance that our customers need the most. And so we're continuing and really relentless in that respect, and looking at really looking at Adobe Commerce as a means to really handle those enterprise cases. And we're really encouraged by the adoption that's happening there. In addition to that, Marketplace, I think you'll start to see, I would say, a rejuvenation in terms of a place or even a town hall for the entire merchant. Often thought of for themes extensions. Today, we've got about 3,500 of them to date. All of those to really highlight the quality that's happening there. But we understand that there are unique needs across each business, regardless of, maybe size, maybe complexity, maybe in support of commerce and or open source, and that's okay. One of the things that we've continued to hear feedback over the past 6 to 9 months is that of this need of innovation, right? And so if Magento open source is really going to be a quality free release, how do we inspire and bring back the pockets of innovation that we're inspired by as well? Whether it's something that we're seeing that's contributing in the community, or some of the other communities that are happening out there, like with what Willem and Vinay are doing with Huva and some of the partner work and others, they're really part of the larger story. It's the same community, but it's maybe a little bit more distributed for that. And so our work really is to help understand how that works in the model that may be different from the last couple of years, but ultimately in support of I would say a product and a feedback loop that allows us to, again, through the Magento Association, collaborate and work with the community to improve that process. What does it mean to contribute? What does it mean to participate? What does it mean to do that either and or for Magento open source or for commerce? And so ultimately, again, I think this is an important point to make. I think for some people it may be obvious, but for others, I think there's often some confusion. We just want to kind of talk through whether it's the code base itself, but reality is the code base is just a small part of our community, and you're going to start to see a lot more of that activated. And you've heard that from the Magento Association for quite some time. So let's talk about the feedback loop. For those who've been following us with the open source task force, it's been more than just open source as a code base. It's really about bringing a feedback loop into the process, whether it means speeding up contribution and review cycles to providing access to developers for our Commerce Edition so that they can test, experiment, and really innovate with our leading platform. But beyond that, we wanted to continue to share, and we made some recent updates to the public roadmap and the public releases around what and when we're doing around Magento open source that in a format is not dissimilar from other platforms as well. And we're also simplifying the core platform itself, as you saw with 2.4.4, and we'll continue to do. The feedback was very clear. Yes, we've got some questions on the process. Yes, we want more innovation, but also let's find ways to simplify the core platform, not only from what the merchants and customers expect and need, which is the overall total cost of ownership, minimizing the efforts around upgrades, but also really as a means to expand and extend in new and interesting ways. But we've got some work to do. We continue to and we've done some work, but we've got more work to do around transparency and regular Adobe communication. What you'll see from Nicole and team is a series of newsletters, a series of communications, hangouts, et cetera, that are going to really start to help us if you haven't seen those before. You also see an increased Adobe focus on Marketplace. I talked about that a little bit before. That's going to continue to be and probably expand in ways that you haven't seen before. And so thinking about that as almost a town hall that serves the needs of Magento Open Source, but also Adobe Commerce as well. And as far as open source itself, you're going to see a clear model for prioritization and the quality of Magento Open Source contributions at scale. And so the feedback has been clear, it's been consistent, it's been strong, and so we continue to work towards that, but we do have some work to do. So I want to take a note and really talk about the Magento Association as well. In our feedback, we often heard questions, and we'll see this in social media, we'll see this even more broadly on the role of Magento Association. The part I want to call out here, and this is available on the website today, is really the relationship here. The Magento Association provides a very, very important role in all of this. As a nonprofit organization, so not owned by Adobe, but supported, it's really important to think beyond and really think about the collaboration, so often with the events, the training, which Slava talked about as well, and the innovation, the place where we can innovate, especially for smaller businesses and developers. Some of the work that has been set up by Josh, Slava, and team was announced at this point 6 to 9 months ago. And so if you were to connect this and follow this along the way, much of the need that you're seeing and hearing has been acknowledged and has been identified, whether it's open source as a project itself, the need for more content, the need for more training, because finding developers can be hard, and the need for more events. We had a bit of a speed bump with the pandemic, but we've got some opportunities now, and we're seeing more and more in person. So we are connecting again. But I just put this up there to kind of show and really highlight the relationship here. This relationship is not dissimilar from that of Drupal, Aqui, and others, but ultimately gives us a foundation and a working relationship as we continue to grow and expand. Certainly open source is a project and a code base, but the community at large, and we're all of our community, our combined community, can work together. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Nicole, and she's going to talk about some of the highlights in our community and a few other things.
Thanks so much, Eric. Yeah, I'm going to just spend a little time on this slide and expand on what Eric has mentioned earlier in the conversation. Community Hangouts have been something that we've done for a long time. And of course, we used to focus on doing these in person, et cetera, but we have had them online for the last 2.5 years. They are aimed to share our latest platform updates, take feedback, spread technical knowledge with the Adobe Commerce and Magento open source community. We've already had 2 Hangouts this year, and another one is being planned for the end of June. We have a community calendar, and we encourage everyone to check that. That is developer.adobe.com to get the dial-in details, although we do post updates into the Magento community Slack when those are being set up. Also, a new thing that we kicked off this year is a community monthly update, which is a newsletter. We have a goal on our team to improve communication and strengthen our ties with the community. It gets posted on the community forum under the news and announcement tab at the end of each month. We also have had an opportunity to have a podcast, because it wouldn't be, it's 2022, you got to have a podcast. Season 1 of Proceed to Checkout podcast with the BeerHawks B2C B2B journey is available. And it's very interesting to see how all of these things can come together. So we have a dedicated staff for creating these things, and we spend time with our internal engineering team to make sure all of these things happen. In addition, we held our first Adobe Developers Live Commerce event in February that was community focused. It featured sessions from product and engineering, topics ranging from maintaining and upgrading the platform to innovations and developer tooling, APIs, and services. We have an Adobe blog for a recap of that event if you happen to miss it. And then to double down on what Eric said, Meet Magento events are back. We've seen the invites coming. We're looking forward to connecting with the community on June 21st at Meet Magento UK and at Singapore in August. We are definitely interested in participating with the community and understanding that we all thrive on collective knowledge, and meetups are a great way to exchange ideas, share experiences, and network. So just kind of wanted to reiterate some things that you all might have seen or not, and make sure that it was clear, you know, kind of what updates are coming from the from our team to the community in the last 6 months or so. Okay, next slide. Okay, great. Sorry. All right. So the community and contribution notes here. So first of all, we're trying to highlight with this slide that we feel like we have one community. It spans Magento open source and Adobe Commerce, as you can see here with our partnerships as well as our code base contributions. But some of these statistics might be new to you all. We spent some time developing and understanding kind of what is the core of the code base and who contributes what. So we had a chance to investigate this over the last few months, and we have come up with the numbers of 56% open source code base from Adobe and 44% from community, which is nice because that gives us a very common baseline of understanding for contribution levels between the two areas. We also have accepted 971 issues into our core product from the community since the 2.4 release. And in 2.4.4, we had 121 issues from the community release. So just trying to give an update on the stats there. This is definitely a topic of conversation, various things through the open source task force, et cetera, but we wanted to make sure y'all had a chance to look at this. And again, to thank, you know, all of our partners, right? Like we have so many, and we really focus on their feedback loops, regular meetings, discussions, and contributions with the product, with the partners that are listed here. Next slide. Okay, I'm going to give a quick update on the capabilities and the open source, you know, features that are coming out. As you can see here, what we have in progress, everything from accessibility to new version support, these are very much focused on platform health. So we take a lot of engineering time and due diligence to understand what parts of our platform need to be updated, from the PHP upgrades to various security quality improvements and dependency updates. This consists of a team in the engineering organization at Adobe, and we spend time making sure these get updated as well as part of our release cycle to make sure that they are included, tested, and ready to go when they launch. So as you can see, quite a few in progress and planned: open source search as an independent search engine, removing jQuery migrate, removing PHP 7.4 compatibility, and again, continuing with security quality and some dependency updates with Symfony. And one more slide for me. Just wanted to kind of roll back over the release schedule. So while this is public on DevDocs, very clearly available, we just wanted to kind of highlight this here again. We, of course, had our 2.4.4 and patch releases roll on April 12th. We also have some feature release buckets that give us an opportunity to have go-to-market activities around features that aren't specific to core, like live search and product recommendations. And we, again, have an August planned release for 2.4.5 and some patches, as well as an October feature and security patch release. So these dates have been published for a while. In the next couple of months, we'll be starting on our 2023 schedule, and we'll get that published and available. And with that, I think we can go to the last slide.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nicole. So yeah, let's close this out together. So I think in summary, you know, there are a lot of great things that are happening in our community. I think the one thing that I think as far as a key takeaway is Adobe's commitment. We continue to hear this, assert this. Adobe is committed to Magento open source. It is key and fundamental, certainly to this community, as you can see, to the product itself, and it's a secure foundation, most definitely for our community and our smaller businesses and developers. Adobe Commerce is based on that same DNA. We are more enterprise grade than ever before, especially if you start to see some of the complex business cases that it's solving for, including B2B. And we continue to see a lot of adoption in that space, including some of the work in the recent releases that are happening. You're going to see a lot more from Marketplace if you haven't heard that enough from us today. And you're going to see this serve the needs of the full merchant. We started off with, in many ways, I think a place for themes and extensions, but we're going to be finding ways and sharing ways to use that as a means for innovations and really looking at a way to meet the needs of businesses of all sizes. The other big takeaway is getting involved in the community. Again, I'm really inspired by Sonia. I'm really inspired by what Slava had shared earlier. There are a lot of great things happening in the community. Don't let that fool you. There are membership drives. There's elections, and so that'll be announced. The first election and the first person will be announced later today. And we've got additional sessions. This is just the beginning. So Nicole and I are going to stick around here for Q&A for probably about the next half hour or so. And if you haven't had enough of me, I'll be joining the discussion panel, primarily and focused on Magento open source, where I expect to be a really good discussion. But in between all of that, there are some great sessions. And so again, that was introduced really well. And I think you're going to see a lot of ways for us to connect. And I think that's really the key takeaway here. And really finding ways for us to connect and evolve and grow and scale as a larger community. And so with that, I'll ask for Nicole, any other kind of closing thoughts or final points before we transition?
Thanks, Eric. Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate how much we appreciate the opportunity to share today. It means a lot to the organization, to myself, to Eric. Like, it's very exciting to be a part of this. And I'm very thankful to have the opportunity to participate with the Q&A later, as well as just in general with MA Connect. So thank you, and looking forward to more conversation.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Nicole, for joining me. Thank you so much for the audience for tuning in. I know this will be recorded and shown around the world once it's published. But also want to thank the MA and our sponsors. This isn't done easily, and so there are a lot of people involved who make it easy for Nicole and myself to share a lot of this behind the scenes. So I just want to acknowledge all the work that they've done, both here and then throughout the rest of the day and after the event as well, and of course the sponsors who really make it all happen. So thank you again for all of that. And thank you to the team. And with that, we will head over to Q&A for questions.
Correct. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Nicole, for this presentation. I know that there are a couple of questions, I'm sure, that's already queued and waiting for you. I'm just posting the link to the session in the chat, so everyone has the easiest way to find you there. And well, thank you for being here. I know it's we are sometimes a tough crowd to please, and I appreciate that you don't shy away, but come here. And Nicole, I really want to thank you also to join us here. And yeah, I would assume that you might receive a couple of LinkedIn connection requests during the day. And I hope that we see you all soon at an in-person event, either skydiving into the stage or however we are then transported to that. Yeah,
I won't be up for any kind of guide wire lines, but yes.
I mean, we've already seen people on crutches with broken legs on Magento stages. So let's just hope that we don't experience the accident that leads to that on the stage.
Sounds good. I'd
Good
be
idea.
up for the dam run, but not the stage flying.
Okay. All right, then
Awesome.
I'll see you all in the session in a second. Thank you for your keynote here, and looking forward to the rest of the day with you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Sonia. We'll see you in a minute.
You're welcome.